They said, Peter, best we can tell, you have been blessed with a wonderful gift to lead. The problem is you're too concerned about external recognition and not internal satisfaction. And they said, when you believe your success is determined externally, guess what? You open yourself up to the power of failure. Worse than that, you can't control what you can influence because you're trying to compare yourself with others. They said, the problem is you've never learned to accept who you are. They said, you got to learn to love yourself. It's not about pleasing other people. Now, I got to tell you, I'm 37 years old. You talk about a powerful message. And I thought for sure they were going to tell me I had to change. I thought that's the path they were. It took me down a very different road. You know what they said? They said, Pete, and here's how they crystallized it for me, folks. They said, our strengths are our weaknesses in this regard in terms of behavior. They said, your greatest strength is your intensity and it's your passion. He said, guess what gets you into trouble? Pete, you're using it as a sword instead of a shoulder. You've got a beautiful gift to lead, son, but it'll never happen until you learn to accept who you are. Now, I got to tell you, again, at 37 years old, that was a pretty heavy dose of information. There's a lot of ways to say this. Though don't self be true, do not be false any other person. If it's going to be, it's up to me. The less I am of you, the more I am of me. Eleanor Roosevelt said it well. The only time we feel inferior is when we give people the right to make us feel that way. Right? Abraham Lincoln said it well. I mean, we think about the statement today, but he said it in a very simple way. If you imagine all of the things that Lincoln went through, but they asked him how he would value his presidency before he was assassinated. He said, if I only have one friend when I leave this office and that friend resides inside of me, I'll know I've been successful. There's Wendy Kaminer wrote a book, I'm Dysfunctional, You're Dysfunctional. A priest friend of mine gave it to me. And what Wendy Kaminer, it's about codependency, but Wendy Kaminer talks about one thing. She said, self-love. You've got to love yourself. And Scott and I had a chance to hear Annie McKee a couple of weeks ago. And you talk about self-reflection, self-awareness. It's all about who you are. That's how you develop and create relationships. And so this whole issue about accepting yourself, you know, it was interesting. It was a period of time, and I hang out at the University of Dayton quite a bit because I just love the place because I believe in our mission of learn, lead, and serve. Because I'm convinced that ultimately servant leadership is the answer. That is where we have to get to. And I read, when John Geiger was a provost, I got all 8 books from John to read about from Greenleaf, who's the author and the father of servant leadership, because I knew it kind of lined up with the things I believed in. And of all the things that Greenleaf said, the thing that probably reflected the most to me was he said, too often we search outside of ourselves for answers, and that's simply an admission of not having enough, being enough, or doing enough. But in truth, the answers reside inside of us. We all know the truth. The question is, have we learned to accept who we are? Okay, and you know, it was interesting. I believe it's ultimately about faith. There's a beautiful poem that says, doubt sees the obstacle, faith sees the way. Doubt sees the dark of night, faith sees the day. Doubt dares to take a step, faith soars on high. And doubt asks the question, who believes? And faith answers I. For me, it was a period of time in my life when my faith, I began to realize it wasn't belief without proof, it was trust without reservation. And what it did, folks, it allowed me to free up my instincts. Because for the first time in my life, I was no longer being held hostage by this need to be accepted by other people. And guess what it allowed me to do? From that day forward, to spend the rest of my life touching other people's lives. Because I no longer worried about me. Because I'm okay.